All right, First Samuel 30. Let's call this one again unbelievable. This time the final installment in this week's set of lessons on the theme unbelievable. This time subtitling it how quickly things turn, because in this chapter we are going to see a number of things turn very quickly, some against David, some for him, and some a mix of the turning of fortunes for those around him. First and foremost, being sent home from their efforts to help the Philistines in the battle against their own people, Israel. They are now going to go home to Ziklag and find Ziklag raided and burned by the Amalekites. And in mourning for all that they had lost, seeing their wives and children gone and their city burned, those who had once assembled to David at the cave, who became his loyal soldiers, are going to quickly turn on David in their mourning, and they're going to want to actually stone him. So David is going to get a chance to see how unbelievably quick even your fan club can turn against you in the right or wrong circumstances. But God is going to answer David in his time of need, and as David inquires of the Lord, should we go and try to recover what we lost to the Amalekites? God's going to tell them to go, and for good reason, because they are going to overtake the Amalekites and recover everything, which is going to show us how unbelievably quick things can turn on your enemies, because they caught the Amalekites while they were partying it up with Israel's stuff, also the portion of stuff that they had taken from other raids on Philistine territories. And so in the midst of their partying, they are going to see how quickly things can turn against them, especially because they've been doing wrong. But it's not going to be all good in Israel, or at least in David's portion of Israel, because once those who went to battle are going to get back with the spoil, they're not going to want to share it with those who guarded the bags, understanding that about a third of David's force was already too exhausted to go into battle. They stayed and guarded what was left, understanding all that had already been lost. And so David is going to settle the dispute between those who went into battle, him being one of them, and those who stayed with the bags to make sure they didn't lose even more, by saying, look, we're going to establish a law in Israel. He simply says they're going to establish a rule that ends up becoming a law in Israel, that the one who guards the bags is going to have an equal share with the one who goes into battle. And so David, probably from his own experience of seeing how quickly the people in his army could turn on him, sympathize with those who likewise got to experience how quickly their brothers could turn on them, and he stood up for those who guarded the bags, making sure they shared equally in the spoils. Why? Because there was a whole lot left over, so much so that by the end of the chapter, David is going to send a gift from the spoil that he got from the Amalekites to those towns that had shown him kindness in Judah as he was fleeing Saul. And so understand that it's not simply the negative ways in which life can quickly or unbelievably turn against you, but God used this circumstance where David had life turn against him unbelievably quick, and God turned that situation into an opportunity for him to be able to repay other people who had been loyal to him, just by nature of catching up with those who had stolen from him. Of course, God blessing him to recover what was stolen, God blessed him with a bonus of being able to basically repay the debts of kindness that he had incurred during his desperate times fleeing from Saul. Which is why we often say God's best to you as you go forward in him, God willing, overcoming the times in which life can turn against you unbelievably quick, and hopefully, like David, maintaining a strong enough relationship with God that he may be just as unbelievably quick to turn those situations back into your favor. Maybe even giving you something a little extra for your troubles.